Holy crap.
Yes, wow.
Which was worse, the mess you found at Twitter or the mess you found in the federal government?
Well, it's hard to compete with the federal government. It is worse than I expected, but on the plus side, that means there's more opportunity for improvement. So if you look on the bright side, there's actually a lot of opportunity for improvement in federal government expenditures because it's so bad. If it was a well-run ship, it would be very difficult to improve. So now it's like, if people say, well, how do you figure out how to save money in the federal government? Well, it's like being in a room where the walls, the roof, and the floor are all targets. So you shoot in any direction,
yeah, and you
can't miss.
Wow.
Again, I'm sure you would agree.
So a lot of folks have talked about like
You can't
miss. You can't miss.
Can't miss. Yeah, just go in any direction.
things like $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala.
An essential.
Tell us about computer licenses in government agencies.
Yeah. So most of what DOGE is finding, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes. Okay, it's very obvious, basic stuff. Every government department, I say every because we've not yet found a single exception. There are far too many software licenses and media subscriptions, meaning many more software licenses and media subscriptions than there are humans in the department. We found entire situations of software licenses or media subscriptions where there were 0 logins.
Wow.
So it had
and yet we were paying for it.
Yes, so the government was paying for thousands of licenses of software or media subscriptions, and no one had ever logged in even once. We found that there are twice as many credit cards as there are humans.
Good.
And I still don't have a good explanation for why this is the case. And these are $10,000 limit cards. So it's a lot of money. Look, I think it's mostly, if you say, look, what's the waste to fraud ratio?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's like 80% waste, 20% fraud. But you do have these sort of gray areas.
Yeah.
So,
Example
would be, so we saw a lot of payments going out of Treasury that had no payment code and no explanation for the payment. And then we'd try to figure out what that payment is, and we'd see that, okay, that contract was supposed to be shut off, but someone forgot to shut off that contract, and so the company kept getting money.
Wow.
Now, is that waste or fraud? You're not supposed to get it, but the government sent it to you, and nobody from the government asked for it back. Or take, for example, the $1.9 billion given to Stacey Abrams, a fake NGO.
Utter insanity.
Allegedly, it was for environmentally friendly appliances or something, and they've given like 100 appliances so far for $2 billion. It's a very expensive toaster or whatever. Right. This is obviously one of the biggest scam fraud holes we've uncovered, which is really crazy. Is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where with the $1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit, buy jets and homes and all sorts of things. And this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere. You may think that that the government computers all talk to each other. They synchronize. They add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. That the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers. One would think they're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money. It just issues payments. They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some there's one or two at state, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing. Well, the government is run by computers. So you've got essentially several hundred computers that effectively run the government. So when somebody, even when the president issues an executive order, that's got to go through a whole bunch of people until ultimately it is implemented at a computer somewhere. And if you want to know what the situation is with the accounting and you're trying to reconcile accounting and get rid of waste and fraud, you must be able to analyze the computer databases. Otherwise, you can't figure it out. Because all you're doing is asking a human who will then ask another human, and finally usually ask some contractor who will ask another contractor to do a query on the computer.
Wow.
That's how it actually works. So it's many layers deep. So the only way to reconcile the databases and get rid of waste and fraud is to actually look at the computers and see what's going on.
So you,
That's what I call, when I sort of cryptically refer to reprogramming the matrix. You have to understand what's going on at the computers. You have to reconcile the computer databases in order to identify the waste and fraud. I mean, in order for money to go to a bank account, it's not like we're sending truckloads of cash all over the place. We're wiring money.
Right.
We're sending money through the ACH system or through the SWIFT system. So in order for money to flow, it's going to flow electronically. So that's what you need to look at. You need to look at the actual electronic money flows. If it was a public company, it would be delisted immediately. It would fail its audit, and the officers of the company would be imprisoned. That's the level of, it's 80% incompetence and 20% malice. Reasonably confident that we'll be able to get $1 trillion of waste and fraud out, and that meaning that it will have. We'll have a net savings in FY26, which starts in October, obviously, of $1 trillion.
Wow!
Provided we're allowed to continue, and our progress is not impeded. And we're very public about what we do. How we could be more transparent. Right. Literally every action we do, small or large, we put on the DOGE.gov website, and we post on the X handle. And when people complain about it, and they say, "Oh, you're doing something unconstitutional," I'm like, "Well, which of these cost savings?"
You're doing it in the daylight. I mean, everyone knows exactly what you're doing.
Extreme transparency.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything's been this transparent ever. I could go to a party in Hollywood and not get dirty looks.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
And
now you might not even get invited.
I think it's
still get invited, but I don't know if I should go.
Why do they hate you so much?
Well, because we're clearly over the target. If DOGE was ineffective, if we were not actually getting rid of a bunch of waste and fraud, and a bunch of that fraud, I mean, the fraud we're seeing is overwhelmingly on the left. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not zero on the right, but these NGOs are almost all left-wing NGOs that are being funded, for example.
Yep.
So they hate me because DOGE is being effective, and DOGE is getting rid of a lot of waste and fraud that people on the left were taking advantage of. That's what it comes down to. And the single biggest thing that they're worried about is that DOGE is going to turn off fraudulent payments of entitlements. I mean, everything from Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, disability, small business administration loans, turn them off to illegals. This is the crux of the matter.
Yep.
Okay, this is the thing that why they really hit my guts and want me to die. Across the country, it's well north of 100 billion, maybe 200 billion. So by using entitlements fraud, the Democrats have been able to attract and retain vast numbers of illegal immigrants and buy voters. Exactly. They basically bring in, I don't know, 10, 20 million people who are beholden to the Democrats for government handouts and will vote overwhelmingly Democrat, as has been demonstrated in California. And it doesn't take much to turn the swing states blue. I mean, often a swing state might be won by 10, 20,000 votes.
Sure.
So if the Dems can bring in 200,000 illegals and over time get them legalized, not counting any cheating that takes place, because there is some cheating, but even without cheating, if you bring in illegals that are 10x the voter differential in a swing state, it will no longer be a swing state.
Right.
And the Dems will win all the swing states, just a matter of time, and America will be permanent, deep blue socialist state. The House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court will all go hardcore Dem. They will then further cement that by bringing in even more aliens, so you can't vote your way out of it.
Their objective is to make it
one-party socialist state, and it'll be much worse in California because at least California is mitigated by the fact that someone can leave California.
Right, you can go to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. The COVID actions almost killed Tesla because they let every other auto plant in the country was allowed to open, but ours, which was in California, was not allowed to open.
Wow.
So they almost killed Tesla. I mean, how many great movies have come out in the last several years? The last Oscars came and went. I didn't even watch it. There's nothing to see. It's not in my imagination. You can just look on social media.
Yeah.
And they've got signs. There are people with signs and demonstrations saying that I need to die. At least some of it is organized and paid for, I think, by domestic, basically left-wing organizations in America, funded by left-wing billionaires, essentially. Arabella, the classic. It's funded by the blue, basically the left-wing NGO cabal. Well, I do have this theory that the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. So, yeah, it seems often to be true. If you say, like, what twist or turn of fate would generate the highest ratings? If we were a TV show, what twist or turn of fate would generate the highest ratings? There's a good chance that happens. It's not coming from a whole bunch of from a groundswell of public support, because when individual donors are looked at in Act Blue, a bunch of them turn out to be like diehard Republicans,
right? People
that have never given money in their life. So you're going to track down a bunch of these people where it says, "Oh, I gave $16,000," and they're like, "I didn't give $16,000. What are you talking about?"
Well, if those
Republican friends of mine found themselves on the Act Blue list, and they're like, "It definitely wasn't me." 10 years is a long time. In 10 years, probably AI could do anything better than a human can, cognitively. Probably almost. I think in 10 years, based on the current rate of improvement, AI will be smarter than the smartest human. Yeah. There will also be a massive number of robots. So humanoid robots. It's not meant to look like any prior robot. We'll iterate the design. You'll be able to have a lot of the robot parts are cosmetic. You'll be able to switch out the kind of snap-on cosmetic parts of the robot to make it look like something else if you'd like. Mm-hmm. So there will be ultimately billions of humanoid robots. All cars will be self-driving. In 10 years, probably 90% of miles driven will be autonomous. In 5 years, probably 50% of all miles driven will be autonomous. Goods and services will become as close to free. So it's not as though people will be wanting in terms of goods and services. Well, you'll have, I don't know, call it tens of billions of robots. That they will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing. It's not that people will have a lower standard of living; they'll have actually a much higher standard of living. The challenge will be fulfillment. How do you derive fulfillment and meaning in life?
Is Skynet real?
20% likely, maybe 10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years. But I mean, you could look at it like the glass is 80 to 90% full, meaning like 80% likely will have extreme prosperity for all. For the next few years, I think America is likely to win. Then it will be a function of who controls the AI chip fabrication. The factories that make the AI chips, who controls them? If more of them are controlled by China, then China will win. Well, right now, almost all the advanced AI chip factories, they call them fabs, are in Taiwan.
And what if China invades
69
Taiwan?
miles away from. Well, if they were to invade in the near term, the world would be cut off from advanced AI chips.
And
currently, 100% of advanced AI chips are made in Taiwan. It's essential for national security, and we're not doing enough. In the distant future, 100 or 1,000 years ago, if SpaceX got humans to Mars, that's what they would remember me for. Larry Ellison's very smart. So I'll say Larry Ellison's one of the smartest people. Larry Page. I mean, there are a lot of people that are very smart. It's hard to say, like, I think to some degree smart is as smart does. So, what have they done that is difficult? and significant. Jeff Bezos has done a lot of difficult and significant things. There are a lot of smart humans. I call them smart for a human. A lot of people who are in the smart for a human category. The first movie I saw in the theater was Star Wars, so I think it had a profound effect on me. I was 6 years old, I think. Imagine if the first movie you ever see in a theater is Star Wars, it's going to blow your mind.
Best Star Wars movie?
Empire Strikes Back.
Kirk or Picard?
I like them both, but Kirk. The first Star Trek movie, maybe? Wrath of Khan. Actually, both Wrath of Khans were pretty good. But yeah, the original Wrath of Khan, it seemed like he shot second. He missed the alien missed his blaster shot. So why did he miss his blaster shot? Must have been because he got shot first. Now he's missing a point-blank blaster shot unless they got knocked off kill. He would have had to have shot first, because otherwise why would the alien miss a point-blank range? Yeah, I'd like to go to Mars at some point. And people have said, do I want to die on Mars? And I say, yes, just not on impact. Some of them are. Yeah, there's been some debate about this online, but the thing is that it was a very high-level decision. So it wasn't really even a NASA decision. Yeah. It was just that the Biden White House did not want to have someone who was pro-Trump rescuing astronauts right before the election. If they're a Democrat, yes. So a Republican, yes, but if they're a Democrat, everything's fine.
Fair enough.
So I think one of them is a Republican, one is a Democrat. So it depends on which one you ask. It's essential for the future of civilization. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
It's not like I want to get death threats, you know.
If you appreciated this video, make sure to like and subscribe, because I bring the latest news about Elon Musk. This interview originally was almost 30 minutes. I cut it down to 16 minutes, 40 seconds without losing any important context or any important clips. A big shout out goes to Ted Cruz for doing this interview with Elon Musk. This I found pretty valuable and interesting to listen to. And it's incredible just how much waste Elon Musk is finding in the federal government. Twitter was extremely bad, and Elon Musk fired 80% of all the workforce pretty much almost immediately. And Twitter, now X, worked just fine. And now it's becoming profitable. So it's proof that it can run successfully. It can basically run with just a few people compared to what it had before. And the same can be said about the government as well. But the waste is just astonishing. More credit cards than people, more subscriptions than people. It's just mind-blowing. And I'm looking forward to uncovering all of this waste. And some of it, Elon Musk has said, is fraud. And some of it, by the way, comes from the Republican side too, but most of it that he's finding is on the left. No one in this world is perfect, and Elon Musk is certainly not perfect, and he will make mistakes, but he at least tries to correct these mistakes later. And there's no one else that I can think of right now who I would rather have in charge of government waste, because would Elon Musk need to make a few extra million here and there just to line up his pockets with the money from the government? He's already the richest man on earth. If you put someone else in charge, with what Elon Musk is doing here, there's a lot of responsibility that falls on a person like that. And there's definitely a lot of ways to cut corners, but Elon Musk obviously is not perfect, but there's no one else that I would trust more than Elon Musk to do this job. And in the end, it's not him who has final say about cutting something out. It has to go to the government, and only then the government approves it. Elon Musk gives a recommendation, but the government later, a different department, that's not Elon Musk, needs to approve it, and only then the cut can be made. And not every single recommendation is followed by the government, but most of these recommendations from Elon Musk are actually followed and implemented successfully. I personally believe that after all of these cuts, America is inevitably going to enter its golden age. People will have more spending power because the government will stop wasting the money, and that money will be used by the private sector more productively. I greatly enjoyed this interview with Elon Musk. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.